Welcome once again to another episode of Recreation Rooster, episode 10. We both have our shirts now, so we're very excited about that. You can also get one online as well. www.recreationrooster.org. I'm Dan Chiava. Once again, this is my co-host, myisha Jones.
Hello,
And
everyone.
so why don't we jump right in? The quote of the day I'm going to do the quote of the day, which is recreation is the bridge that connects us to our true selves and the world around us. Once again, recreation is the bridge that connects us to our true selves and the world around us. So that's very interesting. I mean, to me, it we do kind of play that bridge to help people discover who they truly are and the relation to the world around them. So that's definitely, especially a lot of the people that we deal with who are often struggling with something. So,
Very,
do you?
very true. Very
Mhm.
true. Can you say it just one more time for the viewership?
Yes, yes, I can. Recreation is the bridge that connects us to our true selves and the world around us.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that it also gives the symbolism of bridging, which is totally, connecting two pieces of land between a body of water that constantly is changing, has dynamics to it that might impart challenges, but also opportunities. And I think that one thing that recreation therapists do so very well is finding parts of ourselves and self discovery that we never knew was inside of us. Through social engagement, through leisure, through recreation, through, um, I would even say, through opportunities to ascertain your environment through situational awareness and um, making positive and good decisions about how you're going to move about your life through the various chapters of our life as well. I love that quote for today. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, well, and like we've talked about before, we're constantly creating and recreating who we are and the world around us. I mean, collectively, we are shaping the world around us, and that's what we have the power to do
Right.
in leisure and
I,
recreation.
I also feel as though it also gives us opportunity to build that life resiliency. I mean, oftentimes we hear about people that feel a sense of stagnancy in their life and feel like they may not know themselves, may not be in tune with themselves. And we've also seen the detrimental results of feeling that despair and hopelessness from not having a connection with oneself, being grounded in the truth and reality of oneself. I oftentimes say that recreation therapy is not just a discipline that should focus on recovery and rehabilitation, but also it should focus on the preventative, the preventative attributes of it as well when it comes to, a person self-regulating and also having personal goals for themselves on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and that's where we can really play, like we talked about the other day, have a really preventative effect with campus recreation. We could catch kids before they really are in uh, crisis or really have a more advanced mental health issue. So
Yeah, that's so.
it's huge.
I wanted to give gratitude to Mr. Danny Petrie from Rec Therapy today, which is a recreation therapy business that offers and imparts knowledge, enrichment, education, academic enrichment, and opportunities to connect with other recreation therapists and other recreation therapist professionals when it comes to the provision of our services to giving Recreation Rooster an opportunity to speak about psychological distress in collegiate populations and how recreation therapists and recreation therapy is one of the missing tools that can be used to improve health outcomes and also the work readiness and fitness of future workforce in our country and around the globe. So Dan and I just really appreciate that. And this quote, you're right, it speaks definitely to that really introspective conversation that we had about innovating the use of recreation, leisure, and health campaigns on collegiate campuses. Definitely.
Definitely. And I mean, campus recreation people can work with all students. So we could kind of impart our prevention and teach them how to prevent problems from becoming worse. So, prevent problems from happening in terms of.
Yeah, prevent problems from even happening. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that quote. I really love it. And for our viewership, when you hear these quotes, I mean, please drop a line in our comments on YouTube. Reach out to us as well. We would love to be able to have an open and continuous dialogue with our viewership. And please invite other RTs to come in every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard to view Recreation Rooster podcast. And next up, our next thing we want to talk about is our song of the day. So I had the pleasure of thinking long and hard about which song I felt had such impact to uh, recreation therapy, our interaction with our clients when we do engagements. And I immediately thought about the Michael Jackson song called Black or White, where he addressed social change and social stigmas and how these particular implicit and explicit biases can become barriers to the health and wellness and the harmonious, I would say, nature of social engagement. Oftentimes, recreation therapists, we have to think about the barriers to treatment, and many times it may be societal biases and which are implicit or explicit in nature. People having overgeneralized belief systems and ideologies, or even stereotypical tropes that might adversely impact marginalized individuals. Oftentimes, recreation therapists have to consider that. And I feel like a great way of addressing it many times is playing a song. It can be just as simple as playing this song, Black or White by Michael Jackson, where he addresses those concerns, and people can use music in the lyrics and the rhythm and beat to impart, to prick the heart and prick the minds of persons who may be a victim to implicit and implicit biases, or may even be the perpetrators of it. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
Right. Well, there's also not necessarily as much of a I where people really we have a diverse society, but are people really just sticking to their own groups, or are they intermingling between groups and embracing each other for their differences? I mean, I oftentimes sometimes see situations where people of the same culture kind of stick together and kind of as a set, separate of people from different cultures. And uh, I don't know if that's necessarily what Martin Luther King Jr. has envisioned. I think it was more of a situation where people embrace each other for their differences, who they are, and and that's why it's good. It's good to learn about other cultures and um, really it get to see the beauty in the diversity that is our society and increasingly ever more our society.
I totally agree with you 100%. And I would say, even now, it's more of a challenge now than ever before. We no longer have 6 degrees of separation anymore. The influx of social media on
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I could hear you.
All right, that's wonderful. As I was mentioning before, the influx of social media has drastically increased touch points of connections for us. And in doing so, we do have more, I would say, frequency of interaction with others where there may be implicit bias and conflict that might have to be addressed. So, in my opinion, I feel as though it is super important ever now more than ever, that we have an attitude of gratitude and embracing diversity and the benefits that it gives to us as a human race, not just an ethnicity or a color line or a color spectrum, but a human race, and that we also embrace the commonalities that we have in common regarding affinity grouping, hobbies, leisure, lifestyle, social status, all of those great things. And these are all the things that recreation therapists take into consideration, provide programs and interventions for very, very diverse populations.
Absolutely. And that's why that definitely is a good song, the Black or White.
Yeah, I love it. And also it's pretty catchy. I love the video. The video is amazing. I love it when they do the shape shifting with the different faces. I just thought it was just a very creative, innovative way of really addressing a really touchy and sensitive subject and topic, as well, by Michael Jackson and his creative team. And next up, guys, our and as I'll say it again, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So the next segment is called Pushing Forward, Active Steps Towards Advocacy for Recreation Therapy. And now we will have Dan speak on forming and joining committees.
Right. Well, and that's really what we need to do. We need to be not only within our profession, but within the health and human services and social sciences areas, anything related to healthcare, we need to be having a seat at the table. We need to actively be running for Board of Elections and City Council and other areas where we can be decision makers and we could push uh, recreational therapy as a change agent.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I know that oftentimes people tend to stick to what's familiar. So you may have a lot of recreation therapists that might be heavily involved in recreation therapy organizations that have been, founded and promoted by recreation therapists. But I would impart and impress upon each and every RT to look at the broader picture of it all. Yes, be very active in those foundational organizations, and when it comes to the committees and boards. However, I would also say, or even joining or forming new ones, right? But I will often say allyship is a strong asset, and it's very good strategic move for us as recreation therapists when we want and see the need to integrate into all facets of healthcare delivery systems and health and wellness campaigns. So just because that board might be, PhD professors or even lawyers or any other subset of the professional working class, having an RT come in with a different perspective on how to solve problems, societal problems, and impart creative and innovative solutions is super critical. We are definitely a change agent, and we would be an asset to any board, any committee. And also, like I mentioned before, forming new boards to address new concerns, addressing old paradigms that are antiquated and no longer work is always a plus for RT. So I'm just really encouraging you guys to join boards, form committees, join committees, and create allyship with non-traditional, organizations.
Right. Well, and I would almost say, especially if there's doctors and lawyers and other high-end professionals, administrators on there, because those are people that usually have a lot of the power and influence and decision making kind of influence in the community. So, yeah, that's especially probably important.
I would agree with you 100%. And our next segment is behind the numbers. And now what we're going to talk about is job readiness and the unemployment numbers of persons with disabilities. So we researched the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and we found that in 2023, 7.2% of disabled persons um, did not have did have jobs, and in 2023, 3.5% of persons not disabled did not have jobs. And just to be clear, unemployed people are people who do not have jobs, but they are available to work up to 4 weeks in a given year. So, with that being said, for the disabled persons that are have the ability to work, the statistics shows that 7.2% of those individuals suffered unemployment during 2023. As we all know, during the COVID year, we all know during the COVID years, lots and lots of businesses did fire a lot of people. A lot of people were let off due to a slowdown in services. And so it not only impacted unemployed persons who are not classified as disabled, but it almost doubled it for persons who were classified as disabled, but were also had the ability to have a job and was available to work 4 weeks within the year. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
Yeah, this is definitely a huge issue and definitely an issue where, once again, recreational therapy can really help with because we work with a lot of building a lot of the skills that can be assets for people with work. I mean, basically, since the time they're young, you're kind of learning skills through leisure. So,
Very true,
this
very true.
is
You know, I had the pleasure of working in several outpatient field-based community integration programs through behavioral health. And one of the main functions that we did have as recreation therapists was job readiness, was to support job readiness that not only was put into place in the plan of care by the case manager, but also that was also reinforced and new skills were learned in recreation therapy programming on a weekly basis with our clients. We noticed that when a person has the ability to maintain a job, they're able to reduce their chance of decompensating and cycling back into crisis and into mental health inpatient treatment services because they have a balance, work life, personal life balance. They have a greater sense of self, and they have the ability to get some of the things that they want and many of the things that they need. So they feel a sense of independence and pride as well.
no doubt about it. This is a huge issue with a lot of our participants. It really is.
Yeah, it really, really is. And let's just even approach the whole issue of the stigma, oftentimes that comes with the person who may have a diagnosis or a confirmed disability going into a business or an agency or even a storefront, telling the owner that they want a job. And the owner automatically just discounting them because the owner perceives them to have inefficiencies or the lack of capacity to complete the job without even really assessing whether or not the disabled person does. So it's always exasperated so much more when you have that implicit and explicit bias that a lot of folks with disability are subjected to when it comes to getting a job and being hired for a job. I am like really amazed and excited to hear that many different programs, like, I mean, different organizations like Home Depot, Walmart, even some airlines, a lot of IT companies are really seeing the assets that many persons that may have a diagnosed disability can bring to, to the workforce, and that they're paying them handsomely for their services as well.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. And that is actually probably one of the big areas that might be happening nowadays is finding linking people with disabilities to employment and maximizing their potential in those areas,
Right.
because
Hmm.
certain people, like people with autism, may not be able to, may just need some accommodations, but they could be very strong in certain areas where they
Yes.
could really excel.
And then also the other thing too, for businesses that are founded and owned, or even ran or managed by persons with diagnosed and also disclosed disabilities, pairing with these companies. Was just very happy to have a collaboration for a recent apparel line that I started with my business, New Horizons, with a company named John's Crazy Socks, which is owned and operated by a amazing young man who has been diagnosed with Down syndrome. He has a very thriving, successful business, and we were able to purchase our apparel line um, manufactured through his company. And New Horizons purposely look to connect and collaborate and be affiliated and be a vendor, be a patron and a vendor of a company like John's Crazy Socks.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love it. I love stories like that.
Yes. And next up, our next segment, we want to talk about below the surface recreation subcultures. And for this episode, episode 10, we're going to talk about surf culture and how surf culture, which originated in the which became very popular. Let's say that again, very popular in United States pop culture in the 1960s, also spurned skateboard culture, which what we have now, because for many years, a lot of folks have been interested in water sports and water crafting. So in the 1960s, we were blessed to be able to have the surfboard reimagined and redesigned so that people could literally float on water, right? It's become a very amazing, exciting, and very high risk sport. It takes a lot of physicality and boldness and audacity to do. It's also very beautiful to witness it from the seashore as well. Many of the things that are synonymous with surf culture is woodies, bikinis, board wear like clothing, beach wear, and surf music as well. And as I had mentioned before, skateboard culture also has its own, I would say, products and services and events that circle around it, as well, its own jargon, and its own way of life as well. So surf culture was one that I wanted to mention. Any thoughts on that one, Dan?
Yeah, well, you're from the West Coast. You know a little bit more than I do about that. Being from LA. Of course, here in New York City, I know the Beach Boys made surf culture very popular. back in the 1960s. But well, I mean, of course, I also know people who do skateboards, that type of a thing. I don't necessarily know personally any surfers, I don't think, but definitely that's interesting. The connection between surfing and skateboards. I didn't necessarily realize that. I think of that.
It
So
really is, yes. It really is.
yes,
You
that
know,
is great.
skateboarding was an idea that was brought along by surf culture because they said we would love to be able to surf on land. And
Uh,
then that's how the skateboard was imagined and designed, and now it is reality. And as you guys can see on exports, where there is a skateboarding competition, many athletes from all over the world, you know, compete on a global scale, and they do all types of amazing tricks. Me living here in Los Angeles, I oftentimes see skateboarders practicing here in downtown Los Angeles on the urban scape where there is limitless sidewalks and streets as well. And then I also get an opportunity to
yeah.
to a Pacific Coast highway and see new surfing apparatuses that literally lifts the surfer out of the water and it looks like they're just riding on air. It's simply amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, and I know skateboard parks and that type of a thing around here. I know within the greater New York, excuse me, New York City area. I know that, yeah, it's much more uh, popular surfing on the Pacific Ocean and on the West Coast. I don't know how much it ever really, uh, came on here on the East Coast, although it probably has, at least to some degree. I think I've seen a few surfers occasionally, but not that I really know any. But yeah, surf culture is all about having fun. It really is.
It
So
really, really is, you know, and I feel like being on the water, which can be dangerous, there's a sense of camaraderie and helpfulness to one another to ensure that they can safely enjoy these water crafting activities, but also, you know, that they can do it safely and they can come back to land and live very well as well. So, yeah, so that was the segment on below the
sure.
surface
Well, I mean,
recreation
also,
approaches.
yeah, of course. Water has. I mean, even back in ancient Greece, they knew that water was very therapeutic. I mean, it has a lot of therapeutic properties. Actually, pretty much I believe, every spiritual practice uses water in some way. Often, I mean, it's really one of the purifying, um, 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 purifying areas that are often utilized, and it's often used, yes, as a therapy for exercise for people who have uh, trouble with their knees and joints and back, and it's really a lifesaver for a lot of people, and it's fun. I mean, splashing in the water is just fun, so it adds an element of uh, fun and also therapy to any kind of as a great modality.
Yes, indeed, it sure does. We do have a few adaptive surfing programs here at Greater Los Angeles that the recreation therapy section oversees with a few of our community partners, such as Red, White, and Blue, which is a adaptive sports
Mm,
organization that services veterans all over the nation. So we get an opportunity to show that, guess what, for the physicality that surfing may require, everyone of each functional ability can have accommodations put into place so that they can enjoy water sporting. So we're going to continue on that path of letting people know that they can have a vibrant, exciting life with opportunities to surf and to do other forms of water, on the water, or in the water based therapies as well.
Yeah, I mean, three-quarters of this world is water, and I mean, it's essential. I mean, water is essential to life, uh, and I mean, a lot of animals live in water. Of course, we need to drink water to stay
Yeah,
plant-based. I mean, we need so that's yeah, water is a central feature in life. So I mean,
yes, indeed.
it's not fundamental
That's right.
in a
And
way.
next up, guys, we're going to have our next segment, which is Fast Facts and TR, where Dan will speak on job titles that hire recreation therapists too.
Mhm. Right. Well, I mean, basically, the fact that if you also, just by the way, having a degree in recreational therapy or any kind of college degree, it's an investment that could get you. We have a lot of the transferable skills for you might find that you might, it's such a transferable area where you might find you might work well as a community liaison, constantly networking and building relationships, and you might work as a teacher of some sort, even a college professor, something like that, in another area of your choice. You might work well as a health and human services coordinator or something along those lines, and really incorporate it on a different level. You might want to go for nursing home administration or healthcare
Yes.
administration. That might be something that can really, we need more people in administration who are recreational therapists, actually. So there are really, there are a lot of possibilities. You're not necessarily just stuck to recreational therapy. There's actually a lot you can do, and there's programs where, just like there's also for people who don't have the educational piece. I think there's some kind of an alternative route to become a CTRS, uh, and that's true with most states in teaching as well. So there's a lot you can do with uh, a degree in recreational therapy.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that too, that you can do more than just be a direct care or recreation therapist. I think that a lot of times with recreation therapy students and trainings, we get steered into the medical model. However, I would say that a lot of recreation therapists don't work in the medical model. So, you don't have to work in a hospital setting and be under the recovery or medical model and have the title of therapist to practice recreation therapy. We've heard a lot of different names and titles that have been put into place to for hire at different agencies and municipalities and even government positions. However, I would say, many RTs that I am colleagues with are consultants. They are health education program specialists. Some are lobbyists. Many are entrepreneurs. Um, and many are also, I would say social media influencers as well. Some work in certain modalities where they may be adaptive sports specialists, child life specialists. Also, many work in the creative arts realm. And then many have, I would say, healing arts designations as well.
Yeah, sure. Healing arts, creative arts, theater. Yeah, healing
Some
arts.
some may lead with just therapists, but many lead with practitioner. Many lead with community advocate. Some even go into politics and become board members and commissioners as well. So lots of opportunities for growth and expansion while practicing as a recreation therapist, even if you're not carrying the job title of therapist.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, you do have a lot of options, and yeah, that's where it comes into. I guess being resourceful. The more people you know, the more you network, the more, yeah, that all goes into helping further your potential.
Yeah, you can make great money doing it too. I oftentimes just encourage each and every RT, when you get an opportunity to impart knowledge, just really utilize few seconds, those few minutes to make a great impact of relevance to those stakeholders. It will take you far, 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 and create lots and lots of opportunities for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And our next segment is cornering the market. This is tips for success in private practice. And today, what I wanted to focus on was HIPAA compliance and disclosure agreements in the service contract. Super, super important for all recreation therapists as practitioners to acknowledge that we have to maintain HIPAA compliance for our clients. We cannot post them on social media for self promotion without their consent in writing, and that we are to ensure that when we're having clinical consults that we also complete a release of information, that while we have telehealth sessions, that we also use encrypted HIPAA approved telehealth apps in order to, conduct sessions, and that we always take heed to not disclose personal health information on any of our clients or their loved ones when we're communicating in public spaces or private spaces. We just have to be very diligent about that. Also, that in your service agreement, it is essential that you do have a disclosure agreement that is added in to as an addendum or into the body of the document, so that the client is aware of what parameters you will take into consideration to protect their personal health information, and also that they have a right to privacy, and for us to maintain their dignity and their respect as well. If the client wants to disclose their information to whomever on whatever platform, that's their business. However, we as practitioners, which we are, and clinicians, which we are as recreation therapists, we have a duty to maintain disclosure and to work with high ethics and integrity when we interact with our clients. They will so much appreciate this, and I have had clients in my private practice, some over 10 years, some over 12, 14 years, and each year where we as we go on and having this continuous relationship, they have expressed great content in the age of people constantly violating people's privacy, that we at New Horizons do not violate our clients' privacy. We do great programming, but we don't have to post it all over social media to show that we do great programming or for self promotion. Word of mouth is the best. I would say that's the best advertisement for service oriented private practice like New Horizons. Our clients speak highly and they spread the word, and we get referrals that way.
Yeah,
What's your
that's
thoughts on that disclosure agreements and HIPAA compliance? And
definitely, it's very important. I mean, something that is potentially, you might say, a small and could be overlooked, could be a big issue. So, yeah,
huge.
protect yourself by doing that.
Yeah, we have to be very mindful, and also taking into strong consideration, can the client or consumer that you're treating give consent to have their images on social media, or do you need to go to the I would say the care provider or the person that has the rights to give consent. So it's really important to take that into strong and serious consideration. You don't want to find yourself in a legal battle because you have violated someone's privacy rights as well for self promotion. And next up, our next segment is called Nuts and Bolts in TR. And today we're going to talk about footwear and also shoes and socks. and protecting your feet as you engage in all of the dynamic and diverse programming that we do as recreation therapists. Many people do believe that recreation therapists walk around in tennis shoes all day, but that's not always the case. Depending on what programming that we're doing, we may have on scuba gear and fins that day, or we may have on golf shoes, or even bowling shoes, or tennis shoes for tennis playing, and different types of sporting that we do. Sometimes we may just be barefoot. Many RTs wear compression socks, or they. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you. Viewership, we do apologize for the technical difficulties. I will definitely sort that out before our next episode. So like I was mentioning before, you may have some RTs that do a lot of nature-based programming, so they may wear hiking boots, or even, you have others that work in hospital settings that may walk around in Crocs all day. One thing for sure, there's a diverse catalog of shoes and protective wear that we use for our feet throughout the day for all the many programs and modalities that we facilitate.
Sure. I mean, we got horseback riding or whatever. That's a something else completely.
Yeah, and I mean, and for the administrators and managers and supervisors that may have to go into leadership meetings to speak with stakeholders, they may wear dress shoes. They may wear and heels, heels and pumps, with their outfit that they're wearing for that day for that presentation to ensure that we can get the funding and the support of stakeholders when it comes to programming.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So our next segment is the therapist friend, clinical considerations for daily treatment for recreation therapists. And today, Dan's going to speak to writing measurable objectives.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of you might remember this in school. I mean, of course, I I would hope you also practice this, writing SMART goals, SMART objectives, uh, specific, um, measurable, time bounds, achievable. Um, Oftentimes, I often start with in the next 90 days or whatever the treatment, the time frame is, uh, people will be able to, that person will be able to, and then you write something measurable, like focus for at least 20 minutes during, you know, treatment times are 3 times a week or in order to, and then, listing the outcomes. So, that's one way to do it. Of course, there's other ways potentially, but it's very important that we have measurable objectives. And
Absolutely. In the age of having to quantify every
yeah,
cent and dollar that is used towards programming and to show whether or not the metrics are being met, the goals of the metrics are being met is essential. Every day programs are being cut because they cannot show that they are actually meeting the agency goals that are in place, be it, improved health outcomes for the clients, reduce recidivism for the clients, reduce use of force, um, reduce use of chemical restraints or psychotropic medications, the reduction in decompensation and crisis management. Many agencies are looking for quantifiable evidence that there has been an improvement in the health outcome. So it's essential that every opportunity that you get, be it a treatment team, a quarterly meeting, with leadership, that you can crunch those numbers and show progress or lack of progress, and that you
Right.
can pivot and do what needs to be done to course correct. You don't always have to have outstanding numbers or achieve the goal, but showing that you are actually taking a concerted effort to, one, track it honestly, accurately, right? Ethically track it, and then set a plan into place to make it better is really the goal that's needed. You not only need to show these numbers to your clients that you're serving, but also to the stakeholders that are putting the dollars and cents into your programs. And then also, as you consult with other RTs, that you're able to express and verbalize and track these numbers and give recommendations and findings in writing on the electronic health record or through clinical consultation with other members of the care team. It's super important. This is one skill that I feel as though a lot of RTs should continue to build upon and improve over the course of their career.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's like I was saying, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Smart. That's basically what you need for objectives or whatever. The broader goal can be kind of overarching sometimes, but I want a job, but then I want to be able to build out relationships with my family, and then the objectives can be like it have to be smart, like very specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound.
Right. And
It
one thing to
mental
always
steps
remember,
was that the goal. Yeah.
recreation therapists, you can actually set your goal and have it carried out by the level of care staff. Let's just say that you
Yes.
have a private client and you're only there certain hours in the month. You can put this goal into place and have it put into the programming book. And as long as it is clearly defined and the level of care staff needs to put yes or no or duration of
Yes.
time, they can actually crunch those, they can put those numbers in there. And then when you do your quarterlies, your semi-annuals, or your annual reports, you can go in and you can chart review, and you can crunch those numbers, and then you can adjust your plan of care as needed.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I work with people in the home, sometimes that's what. Uh, sometimes the mother often sometimes is able to track some of the data and that type of a thing. So yeah.
Absolutely. You definitely need to have your data. I oftentimes tell RTs, if you didn't write it, it didn't happen. But if you don't have any data,
Oh,
your findings may be challenged,
mhm.
may be second guessed. So you need to make sure that you have your numbers together and that you have your data that you can crunch to show progress or lack of progress. Super duper important, especially in the therapeutic process of it all. Yes. In our next to last, well, actually, our last segment is Recreation Rooster Stamp of Approval. And Daniel has selected someone, Mr. Seth Jenchol. Go ahead, tell us about him.
Um. Yes. Um. Um. Say that again. I'm sorry.
Seth
Oh,
Jenchol.
yeah, Seth Jenchol. Yeah, actually, he just got a position in with the Montre one of my former staff in the Montrose VA. He so that's and he was named Employee of the Year, I believe, at Alaris Health
Wow.
in Cedar Grove. So I'm honoring him with that, and I'm gonna let him know, and that'll be yeah, Seth Jenchol. So give it up for him. That's definitely happy about that.
That is so amazing, Mr. Seth. I have not met you, but I've heard great things about you. I think that it is amazing that you're such a dynamic recreation therapist. You make the profession look great. We need much, much more recreation therapists like yourself. And we at Recreation Rooster, we honor and we show gratitude to excellent practitioners. That's who we love to highlight on our episodes and on our podcast. It's those trailblazers and those rising stars and those North Star that everyone can look to and admire and emulate as well when it comes to the provision of services that we as recreation therapists provide. And with that being said, that is the end of episode 10, guys, which it was scheduled for March 4th. So it's just a little bit late, but we're going to try to be much, much more consistent. We want you to reach out to us at recreationrooster.org for our amazing t-shirts that we have here. Support us by purchasing one of our amazing t-shirts. Please reach out with any questions that you would love us to speak on. You can also reach out to both of us. We have our own consulting firms. I am here in Los Angeles, serving nationwide with New Horizons Concierge Firm. And you can reach me at Recreation Rooster email address, myisha at recreationrooster.org. And you have Dan here. Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, Dan Chiavo, Leisure Dan Consulting Services, 845-987-0104, 845-987-0104. I'm in the greater New York City area, but I could do I'm collaborating with myisha in LA. So with technology, we could do a lot more. Daniel at recreationrooster.org, Daniel at recreationrooster.org. So look forward to hearing from you soon. And thank you very much for viewing. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, so like, share, and follow. Invite a friend next time. Please comment and interact with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well, and TikTok. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.